What's going on, everyone? There's still a ton of questions in regards to the Lakers' current roster. What is going to happen with Russell Westbrook? Will they do a trade? Will they get Kyrie Irving? What is going to happen with this team? As well as what will they show up as next season? They have a very tough opening to the NBA season, facing the Golden State Warriors on October 18th and then the Los Angeles Clippers on October 20th. So their first two games of the season are against arguably the best teams in the West, and maybe even arguably the two best teams in the entire league. So the Lakers are really going to have to show what they are capable of immediately. But the Lakers obviously want to pull off a trade, whether, again, Kyrie Irving, the Pacers deal for Buddy Hield, Miles Turner, or whatever deal is in place. And the ultimate grand prize is Kyrie Irving from the Los Angeles Lakers from the Brooklyn Nets, right? That is the grand prize. That is who they want. That is who they are waiting for. The idea and thought is that the Brooklyn Nets are going to trade Kyrie to the Lakers at some point. They're trying to figure out what to do with Kevin Durant, but it's a matter of when, not if, right? That's the thinking, that's the thought process, and hopefully the Lakers can get him this season before training camp, get prepared, get ready, and then that would give them that much more of an arsenal to go up against the Warriors, the Clippers, teams like that, and later on. But the Lakers also faced the Brooklyn Nets, thanks to a report, on November 13th of this year. And that's exciting news because the big question is, what is the Brooklyn Nets going to look like? If the Lakers get Kyrie Irving, then that would be huge, right? Kyrie's first game back in Brooklyn against the Nets, his old team that he felt slighted by, that didn't want to give him a max, and I could see him just balling out in front of Brooklyn. I mean, that would be must-see television. Watch a Kyrie go back home to just put on a display, put on a show against the Nets. And that would also be very fun. Also, what happens with Kevin Durant? Is Kevin Durant on the roster, right? What happens with these two? Does Kevin Durant go to Boston? Does Kevin Durant stay on the roster? Or maybe they trade Kyrie Irving. Although I think if they do keep Kevin Durant, they probably don't trade Kyrie, but you never know. They might be looking at it as like, hey, we're going to have to trade KD sooner or later. We're going to have to trade him eventually. Might as well just move off of Kyrie now, because if we ride it out this season, then we get nothing in return and we'd have no salary to replace him. So maybe they're looking at it as like better to just get what we can right now before it's too late and then we don't get anything. That's a real possibility. That would be even more fun. Imagine if Kevin Durant really is playing and he hasn't sat out or, faked an injury or something along those lines, or he's not Vince Cartering the Brooklyn Nets. Hopefully he's fully bought in, given 100%, trying to put on an actual display. It would be great to see Kyrie versus KD, right? After all this mess, all this drama, just see Kyrie just balling out against the Brooklyn Nets, balling out against Kevin Durant, Kevin Durant having to watch his buddy just play with LeBron and Anthony Davis. I think it would be must-see television. So it's going to be curious to see what happens between now and training camp, because I do think if this trade happens, it likely happens right before training camp. Even the Lakers gave a soft deadline for any Russell Westbrook trade for training camp, because none of these teams want to go into training camp with dysfunctional players or just like the fate of their team up in the air, stuff like that. They're going to want to get this worked out and hashed out before, so they know, okay, this is the team we got, this is the team we're running with, this is the team we got put together. Let's get them all bought in. Let's get the system that we're going to implement. Let's get the offensive schemes, the defensive schemes. Let's get everything together so we can start, getting ready for the season. That's the whole point of training camp. Get these guys bought in, find out who's starting, who's, sixth man, seventh, whatever. Those kind of things are very important when you're talking about training camp. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, I don't think are going to be on the team come that time, because I don't think that the Nets are going to want to come into training camp with all of that lingering over their heads. What are we going to do with Kyrie? What are we going to do with Kevin Durant? So Brooklyn could be looking like a very different team, but they could still be a very solid team, which would be interesting as well, right? Say they do the Kevin Durant trade to the Boston Celtics and they end up with Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and some picks. They already have Ben Simmons. Let's say they're able to flip. Maybe they can get the Miles Turner and the Kyrie trade. So now they got Miles Turner. You got, say, a starting five of Marcus Smart, Seth Curry, Jaylen Brown, Ben Simmons, and Miles Turner, that would be a fantastic starting five that could realistically happen for the Brooklyn Nets. And if you're Brooklyn, like, you could compete. Now, I still think the Lakers would be a better team, but you might have a lot of these guys on the team that are like, we're going to show Kyrie. We're going to show him what it really means to come here. As well as, like, when the Nets face Boston, right? They're going to want to show Kevin Durant, like, look at what you're missing out at. They're going to want to make that statement. The fans are going to be booing and just acting wild, and it's going to be quite the atmosphere. But at the end of the day, you know, if Kyrie doesn't get traded, it's still going to be a great game because you're going to have LeBron, Anthony Davis against Kyrie, and, you know, Kevin Durant. You're going to have the two of them kind of going at it. A maybe future glimpse of what's to come because Kyrie, based on reports, wants to go to the Lakers, whether it's this year via trade or he signs in free agency next season. One way or another, it's very likely Kyrie is going to end up on the Lakers. And the big question is, what will the Nets look like? Like, let's say the Nets don't trade Kyrie and KD, right? They don't make the trade. Do Kyrie and KD actually play? And if they do play, are they actually given 100%? Because, you know, maybe they're worried, you know, why do we want to get injured? Why do we want to kill ourselves out here for a team we don't even want to be a part of and a team that doesn't even want us? You know, especially from Kyrie's perspective, you know, are they going to come out and give 110%? Or are they, you know, like I've talked about before, is Kevin Durant going to pull a Vince Carter where he just, he shows up just so he can get a paycheck, but he's not really there, and he's just doing everything he can to sabotage the team, taking half-court shots and just making bonehead decisions, turning the ball over deliberately and stuff. Like, is that something we're going to see from Kevin Durant? Kyrie, what are we going to see from Kyrie? A lot of people think Kyrie's going to buy in and give 100% because he's going to want a max contract. But regardless, how many teams are going to want to give him a max contract, period? Even if he balls out and shows 100% that he's Kyrie Irving, you don't think teams are going to look at that and go, yeah, you were Kyrie Irving before and they gave you a max contract and it wasn't enough? You know, how many teams are going to want to, even after one season with a history of just being unreliable and the lack of playing and stuff like that, like, how many teams are going to say, let's give a max to Kyrie Irving? I don't think there's very many. You know, not teams that he'd want to play for at least. And the Lakers very likely, they're the team that would give Kyrie Irving a max contract, just to give him a max contract, just to keep LeBron and everybody happy, just to keep this team intact for the next several years. So I think regardless, and I think Kyrie Irving knows that too. I think Kyrie Irving knows, like, the Lakers are going to give me the money that I want to get either way, or at least close to it. Even if they don't give me a max, they'll get me pretty close. I'm going to have LeBron in my corner vouching for me and trying to get, you know, the most money possible for me. I'll be in a good spot. So does Kyrie really want to kill himself? Does he really want to try to, you know, give 110% for a team that just isn't really, that he doesn't really want to be a part of anymore, and that they don't really want him, and it's just an absolute mess? I don't know. I don't know. It's a big question. But nonetheless, November 13th is going to be an exciting day. It's going to be an exciting time, and I cannot wait to see these two teams duke it out, going at it. But those are my thoughts and opinions, and as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know yours down in the comment section below. What do you think about LeBron James versus Kyrie Irving, or LeBron James and Anthony Davis versus Kyrie and KD? Are you excited for that matchup? Are you not? What do you think is going to happen with Brooklyn? Do you think Brooklyn is going to even have those guys on their team? Do you think that, you know, Kyrie is a Laker at that point? That maybe Kevin Durant is a Celtic at that point, or maybe he's on another team, whatever. What do you think the result's going to be? Do you think that that's a game to mark your calendar with yet? Or do you think, like, let's see, because, you know, if Kyrie isn't in Brooklyn, then it kind of becomes something else. But I don't know. I still think it could be a good game, depending on who's on the roster. Like I said, they get Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart with the players that they already have. They're going to be a very good team. And I still think that they're going to be a playoff team. And it could be a tough matchup. It could be fun to watch. And those guys are going to just want to take their game to another level, because they're going to want to show Kyrie and just everyone else, like, look at what you're missing. Look at what you messed up on. You know, stuff like that. I could definitely see that being, see this being a sort of statement game for the Brooklyn Nets and their players and coach and just everything in general. I think it'll just mean a lot more to them than maybe the Lakers team, especially if the Lakers are really good. Also, just injuries and stuff, you know, what's going to happen with injuries and things like that, you know. Will LeBron and Anthony Davis play that game? Kyrie, will he even play that game? You know, you got to imagine that these three are going to miss probably 20-plus games during the season. They're not going to, like, if you have Kyrie, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, you're just trying to get healthy come playoff time. You know, these games might not mean as much. So I don't know. Again, is it a game that you're marking off on your calendar as like a must see, or do you think it's something that just, you know, it's just another game of the season? It's just one of the 82 games. You know, there's always those big marquee games, those games that you get excited for, and then there's those like, you know, just random like, oh yeah, okay, this is on, I'll watch it type games. But I don't know. I think that this could have potential to be really good, and we'll see what develops. You know, obviously, if a trade happens or something, that could be a lot more impactful otherwise. But again, however you feel about it, love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.